This is episode 7 of the Growth Tigers podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Growth Tigers podcast. I'm your host Brian Cotter, and it's my job to bring inspiring entrepreneurs of Vietnam and their stories to you, wherever you may be. Today our guest is one of the most active startup community events guy in Ho Chi Minh City, running the Startup Hub for Investment, Education, and Leadership Development, also known as SHIELD, and its promise of one event per week. He is also an entrepreneur and designer. In fact, he designed the logo for the Growth Tigers podcast. Today's guest is Duc M. Nghiem. Welcome to the show, Duc.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, Duc. So, I kind of made a very quick introduction. I went over a very brief kind of who you are, but can you kind of fill in the gaps? And how did you manage to get to where you are today? How did you develop into the person you are?
Okay. Thanks for the questions. So I grew up here in Saigon, Vietnam. I'm 27 now, and when I finished high school, I went study abroad for 7 years, 2 years in Malaysia and 5 years in United States, and I studied graphic design and photography. That's my passion. However, though, during that course, because of graphic design, it's kind of like in the middle of technology and art, so I get a chance to expose to technology, and in the last 6 months in the United States, I started my own startup ideas.
And what was that?
It's a platform called Traversy. My mission was to enable young people to travel and make money when they travel, so they can go more.
How would they make money?
So they will deliver gift for other people.
Okay, so as you're traveling, you would take orders to pick up gifts from different places around the world. Is that right?
Exactly. So what I see is nowadays more people traveling abroad, more people go different places to work, so they very distant with their families. And on the other hand, there are more people to travel, backpackers. And they need money to go, and young people, they always ask the questions, if I want to travel, where do I get my money? So I have an idea of, okay, you can travel and you can pick up some gifts and deliver for distant people and making some money, and they keep traveling.
Okay, so you did this in the last, say, 6 months of your time in America. So what happened to Traversy?
So I went back to Vietnam. I joined ITP, which is an accelerator program from National University. And during the course of being there, we found out that we don't have big enough market for this to work.
Okay.
So that's something, it's a good story to learn and good lesson to learn. So
okay, so you went through a failure of kind of say product,
yeah,
and then you kind of turned your attention towards SHIELD. So can you tell us more about SHIELD?
Okay, so actually we started SHIELD a month before I came back to Vietnam. So
who is we? You said we.
So SHIELD was founded by 6 members.
Okay.
This is Minh Đỗ, Hải An, Hồ Việt Hải, Tô Mô Huỳnh, Quỳnh Hương, and Eddie Thái. So they're very passionate about building Vietnam startup ecosystem, and they came together and they say, hey, let's start something and let's make it different by having people to do it full time and dedicated and passionate about building the Vietnam startup community. And that's why I came in and be a part and I've been a director of Shield.
Hmm.
So we've been doing workshops, events. Now we developing training courses. Now we developing projects that helping startup to find university talent. We doing projects to help startup get closer to early adopter.
Okay.
Basically, young people won't try or use new products in Vietnam. And how can we solve it?
Okay. And so since you've started working with Shield, how many events have you done? What kind of success have you seen? And how many startups are you working with?
So we since we started, Shield's been around for a year. We've been doing about 40 workshops, about one per week in the last 10 months. Now we're slowing down and we're developing a stronger partnership with monthly workshop. We co-organize the biggest tech and startup event in per se Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, which is Saigon Tech Startup Fest. We attracted 5,000 people and 3,000 attendees during that day.
Okay. So that event itself had 3,000 attendees.
Yep.
And across all of the events, all about 40 of them, how many total would you say you've had?
So the total of them, I would say 6,000.
6,000. That doesn't include the 5,000 at one event, right? Or it does?
So for the workshop, it's about 1,000 people.
Okay.
And 3,000, so for 4,000 attendees for all our events.
Right. Okay. So those workshops are 20, 25 people each?
Yep.
Okay, cool. The Shield, it stands for Startup Hub for Investment, Education, and Leadership Development. Can you dive into those three things, the investment, education, and leadership, and how you work with them?
Okay. So we have three things to tackle in startup ecosystem, just investment, education, and leadership development. We started first with education because that's the most basic and important thing for a startup ecosystem to work. So we've been educating founder community and entrepreneur and entrepreneur.
Okay. What do you mean by education? What are you teaching?
So basically, anything that a founder needs, which is basically everything. So they say founder is usually a jack of all trades. So basically, they have to know. Of course, they have to be an expert in one field, but for everything else, let's say SEO, digital marketing, sales, legal, tax. So they have to be aware or not deeply learning something. So we connect with experts and founders who went through the whole journey of building a startup to deliver back what they have learned and what they have felt during that journey back to new founders, so they can learn and be aware of what will happen, and they can focusing on learning these things to have a better chance of success.
Okay, and does that kind of lead into your support on the investment side as well, helping entrepreneurs kind of be more investment ready?
Yes. So investment, we will focusing on right now. Our startup ecosystem is not that developed in order for us to connect and introduce startup with investor. However, we did some, and our take on investment is how we prepare Vietnamese startup to that level that they can go out and get international investment. So we have a pitching program that we just get founders with product ready and just train them with English, with pitch deck, perfect their pitch deck, teach them English, and train them for public speaking. So when they comes to an investor, they have better chance to develop to deliver the message, the pitch that. So we believe they will have more chance to get the funding. So that right now we helping them to get investment.
Okay, I see. And the leadership development, what are you doing in that space?
That's a really big thing to tackle. Leadership takes time, and right now one of the tiny thing that we contribute is we've been talking to few university clubs, and what we would love to do is helping them with our resources, for example speakers, for example our training, to help them with skill set first, and later on we want to help those talents to work with the startups so they can develop a better leadership skill. They have a better skill in managing people. So because we believe the startup culture is the fastest way for an individual to grow. I'm not saying MNC is a bad choice, but in MNC you won't grow as much as working in a startup in the same amount of time frame.
So you think that being an entrepreneur and doing your own activity, your startup, helps you grow as an individual in many ways, not just skill sets, but also into kind of in the intangibles. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Working in a startup it's a great and a really tough journey. It's true, if you hear people say entrepreneurs are mostly lonely, yeah, that's true. So it's tough as an individual, but also it's very inspiring because you will work with incredible individual. You will work with a wonderful mentor. You will get to meet and learn from different people from different perspective in different industry, and that's great thing as being an entrepreneur.
And so obviously these insights are being developed over those last, say, 40 events. What is the need for an organization like Shield in Vietnam based on your experience in these last 40 events? I know you've just covered a few things that you think entrepreneurs need or young people in Vietnam need, but what have you learned over those 40 events that tell you that Shield is needed in today's startup community for Vietnam?
So those 40 events just a test of what we planning to do. Of course, we consider ourselves as a startup. So basically we came in the market know nothing about startup. We have to assume that we know nothing. And with these 40 events, we were able to learn and being with our customers, say, hey, what founders are struggling with, and with that, now we understand more about them.
Okay, so what are founders struggling with?
So founders are struggling with a lot of things. First is...
Give me the top three.
Top three, okay. Co-founder, legal, and management.
Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper there. You said the first thing that came to mind was co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
So co-founder are like a marriage. So things will go very fast at the beginning, but at its growth, thing will grow apart, and that's something that people as founders they will experience firsthand.
So are they struggling with the selection of the appropriate co-founder, or are they struggling with maintaining a founder's relationship? I mean, is there a specific part that seems to be the problem?
I think for this early stage startup, it's hard to select the co-founder. I see a lot of people came into me and say, hey, you know anybody to introduced me. I'm looking for a co-founder, and usually
Okay.
people see it the wrong way that they're looking for co-founder as they're looking for an employee, and that's a wrong perception.
Hmm.
To go out and talk to people, pick their brain, see what their perspective in order to find co-founder. Co-founder, you know, may be able, may not be good to be introduced to. I think in my perspective,
Right.
um,
Right, because you as a co-founder, you said it's like a marriage, and if that's true, then you need to have the same kind of
chemistry.
mindset in terms of vision and mission.
Yeah,
It goes beyond just skill set.
exactly.
Okay, so that's co-founder. The second thing you said is legal.
Mhm.
Is legal, is that in regards to the complexities of the Vietnam kind of system, or is that legal in terms of understanding the different terms and kind of processes and things that you need to set up a actual company?
Both, because our legal structure is not supportive for startup or even companies, and with so many laws that rules and regulation comes out every month, and as a young founder, you can't just keep up with that. You have to spend time with your team, building your products. You know what's going on, and you don't want to spend a lot of time just focusing on legal. Founders can't find those information, and even if they found those information, it's really hard to go to that process.
Okay, and I know this is an area where the Vietnamese government specifically is actually making efforts at improving
Yep.
in terms of entrepreneurship. But also, do you think that the founders here also are struggling with finding the appropriate ways of registering companies that are investable on a kind of paper basis? Having the appropriate paperwork and licensing and corporate structure.
Well, I think most founders won't know those things until they.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's where you kind of are coming in with the legal
Yeah.
support as
Yep.
well.
So we only be able to raise the awareness of, hey, there's IP that you need to pay attention to. We have workshop on intellectual property about what's the how to register your signage, your branding, your logos, in case somebody's stealing it.
Right.
But it's only stop as awareness. They know about it. Uh, to go out and actually do it, it takes so much time and so much effort that
Hmm.
basically most people just give up along the way.
Right. Yes. And that maybe that's an opportunity for some founder out there who has that knowledge, right?
Yeah,
To do that as a service.
exactly.
So, and the last thing you said was management.
Yep.
What's the struggle in management?
So most founders will struggle with management. I think I'm experienced that too. So as a young, we don't have that much experience. What we have is passion. We have the heat. We have the maybe the knowledge of doing certain things. But as a management skill, we're not expert yet. So with management means that, okay, your team from two people, two co-founders, so different, thing going very fast, very quick. You can just jump in a meeting and say and figure out what to do. But then when your team grows to 5 people and 6 people, it's a different story. You have to spend some time to manage them, to train them, to lead them, to coach them, and then it's 10 people is the more difficult. So basically, the management here is not per se paperwork, but more like, okay, coaching and training and motivate team member, follow through the whole vision of the company. So I think that involves a little bit of leadership skill, and I think most founders we're not there yet to achieve that leadership skill that we needed. But I think it's a great pathway to learn that.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So you guys have a new kind of initiative coming out called the Shield Academy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And from our pre-interview call, you told me that you're actually oversubscribed. So can you tell us more about what has made the Shield Academy such a popular kind of activity for potential founders?
So because of Shield Academy is a very intensive training course to train people with passion to solve a problem into founders with a sustainable business idea.
Okay, so when they come into the academy, they don't need to have a business, or it's actually better if they don't have a business.
Exactly. So it's actually one of our criteria is they need a problem to solve. So that may not be an idea, but they have to deliver it well enough so we can understand the problem that they passionate to solve. And we're really focusing on passionate, purpose-driven individual.
Okay.
So they experience that problem on themselves, and they see a lot of people having that, and they want to solve that.
So how do they define the problem for you? What do you make them do to showcase that it's a real problem and that they're purpose-driven? Because for me, passion is something that you can't just say, I'm passionate. So
exactly.
How do you make them show that they're purpose-driven?
So through our application form, we have them write about it. So it's not, it wasn't a short answer. It has to be more like a paragraph. It's 2 paragraphs say, what's your idea? And then another 2 paragraphs say why you want to solve this and who you want to solve this to. So with essays, we will be able to learn more about them as they write, and then understand what they have been doing to tackle this problem.
So if they haven't been proactive, then they're not really your target. Is that fair?
So so I mean, if you see a problem and you're not waking up in the morning thinking about it and working on it enough, then it's not there yet.
Mm-hmm. All right. So in this year journey with Shield, can you tell us some of the biggest challenges you've had? Like, have you ever had a complete failure of an event, or have you been close to kind of wrapping it up and say this isn't going to work?
Yeah. I mean, I personally have a lot of them. At the beginning, I was it's kind of a one-man show about doing all the workshops. So I had workshops that 3 people showed up, 5 people showed up. I had workshop that people pay a lot of money, but the speaker was speaking about something else. So for me, it has been a lot of failure and lesson learned.
Okay, and so how did you grow from those lessons? I mean, what have you done to make a difference in that your future events won't have some of these problems?
One thing we've been doing is, we have to sit down and systematize the whole process of what is our expectation for when the people came in, the check-in process and the evaluation form at the end, and our expectation with the speaker. So we want to be as clear as much as possible with the speaker as well as the attendees.
Okay.
And basically right now we focusing a lot on user experience, which is how to make them actually learn more, how to ask speakers to deliver more hands-on exercise instead of just lectures.
Right.
And how to ask speakers to create a slides that enough information for all the people to understand, not just for that 3 hours lecture.
I think I want to share a little bit here because you were also one of my first guests on the Nghiem Cafe weekly event that I've been holding. And while your particular week was quite well attended, a few weeks after that, I haven't shared this with you yet, but I actually had an event where nobody showed up. So it was just me sitting having a cup of coffee, which is okay. But for all the listeners out there, if you're doing the event-based business or event-based activity, these kind of things will happen from time to time. And what you need to do is you need to think about how you can learn from them. And so I just wanted to share that with you, that you're not alone in having events that don't quite go according to plan.
And it feels really, really, really bad, you know. And especially, I was doing, so all the workshops were paid events, so people have to pay tickets for it. And people actually pay ticket and not showing up, or people not paying any ticket at all. So, I mean, that means that we didn't deliver enough value for people to show up.
That's right.
So that's something that make me feel really bad about it. You know, I mean, not just because the amount of people.
Right. Well, I'll share a point of advice that I heard at a conference a few months ago from a guy who does our labs, which is a social innovation lab. And basically, you know, he said that you have to take everything as a learning experience. And in the first year or two of a co-working space or a new kind of program, you have to know what your expectations are, because in the first year, you're honestly not going to have any idea what's going to work.
Exactly.
And so you have to know that. So your expectations have to be set to that, where you do the best you can, but you're gathering data.
Yep.
And so now as SHIELD goes into year 2, I expect that these kind of issues would be less likely to happen because of your learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great learning curve for me.
Absolutely. So let's turn the conversation back to you and your learning curve and your journey as an entrepreneur. What inspires you? What inspires you to do entrepreneurial work? I know you said that you were with graphic design. You were at the kind of the area of technology and art, so you were involved. But why entrepreneurship? Why startup?
That's really a tough question. I actually don't remember how I got here. I just know that this is what I love. I guess.
Is it a feeling? Is it something that when you do these workshops, we do these activities, you kind of get a undescribable thing that you feel that it's the right thing, or what?
I think that feelings comes not from the workshop, but when I see people actually connecting after our workshop. So people make friends, people became co-founders, people looking for designer in our workshop, even though our workshop wasn't for that, but because of the connection that the opportunity that we gave people to be in one room that have that after effects. And I think that was a great feelings for me.
So that's kind of what inspires you to keep going and kind of drives your mission. Is that right? Do you have a mentor?
I do. Actually, I very fortunate to have quite a few mentors. Eddie Tai is one of my mentors.
So do you meet them regularly? I mean, you call them the mentors. Are they just people you talk to, or do you meet with them on a regular basis to kind of do personal development?
We depends on the mentor. So at least once a month, but usually, for example, Win Hương from Fab Lab, I met every 2 weeks. So
what do you do with your mentor that kind of makes them your mentor? What is it that they do that they provide for you?
I think my personal perception about mentor is just somebody that helping you develop in terms of not necessarily the business, but more like personal development advisor. So We of course we talk about Shield, we talk about business, but also what can I achieve in terms of okay, what what I want to be in the next 2 years, or just simply what your strategy on Shoe Academy. So I mean, it's quite random, but I think it's more like they ask a lot of questions. So what I my takeaway is always answers that I
Okay.
often forgot to ask.
Okay, that's good. So I like to ask the people that come on the podcast if there's ever been a piece of advice that they've gotten from a mentor or from a kind of a thought leader or developed by yourself that you kind of live by, and ask them to share it with our listeners. So is there a single piece of advice that you keep coming back to, time after time that really speaks to you?
One great advice I think it's not an advice, but I think it's more like a story. So basically, I see entrepreneur as a person who jumped out a cliff with a paper airplane, and you have to find whatever way to make it work. There will be a lot of unknown things that happen to you, but if there's a will, there's a way. You always find a way to make it happen. And I think you the best advice is just you have to go for it. Just don't wait.
Build the ship on your way down.
Yeah, just go and do it.
Thanks, Duc. So is there anything else you'd like to add or you'd like to share with our listeners that you think would be relevant to them on their journey?
Everything we're doing is for the community. So if you guys interested in startup community, you guys looking to learn something or to looking for somebody that have the same like-minded mindset, please visit Shield at shield.to. We have everything you need from every event that happening in startup ecosystem.
Is that nationwide or is that just Ho Chi Minh?
Actually, now we're doing nationwide. Yeah,
Okay.
Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. Hopefully that ends soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that website was shield.to.
Yep.
It's SHIELD.TO,
Yep,
correct?
yep.
Is there any social media where our listeners can connect with you or hear your stories or anything like that?
So my Facebook is Facebook/Duc M Nghiem.
Okay.
And Shield's Facebook is Shield Startup Hub.
Okay, fantastic. I'll make sure that both of those are in the show notes. And so anyone who's interested will be able to connect with you on Facebook or through the website. Thanks for coming on, Duc, and thanks for sharing your story and some really interesting things that you're going to be doing with Shield over the next few years.
Thank you.